On my wedding anniversary, my wife kept me drinking until 2 in the morning. I was jarred awake by these soft whimpers like a cat in heat. I couldn't believe it. We'd been together since high school, from our uniforms all the way to her wedding dress. But on the night of our anniversary, she chose to repay all my love by cheating on me. When I caught her red-handed, she didn't even flinch. She just told me if I wanted a divorce, I'd better make it quick. She screamed that I wouldn't get a single penny of the $150,000 in our savings. Hearing that, I just nodded, staying calm and quiet. Instead, I just locked the door, trapping those two scumbags inside, and calmly pulled out my phone. I pulled up the family group chat for Ruyan's side of the family and sent out a single message. Could everyone please come over to our place right now? Ruyan and I have something important to talk to you all about. My mother-in-law fired back almost immediately. Do you think we're all as idle as you are? Stop with the attention-seeking drama, reading that my blood started to boil. I replied, I'm giving you exactly 15 minutes. If you don't show up, then I'm going to show everyone exactly what happened tonight. Part of me wanted to just end it all with her right then, but that would be far too easy on her. Death is quick, but destroying someone's soul, that pain lasts a lot longer. 30 minutes later, every single one of Ruyan's relatives had piled into my house. My father-in-law was the first to speak. Sheng, what's this all about? It's the middle of the night. Why did you have to drag all the elders out here for this? I looked at their confused faces, gave a hollow laugh, and swung the bedroom door wide open. I told them, why don't you all take a real good look at the pride and joy of the Liu family? Ruyan's face went white, even though they'd managed to get dressed then. Any idiot could figure out what a man and a woman were doing alone in a bedroom at 3 in the morning. But before I could even open my mouth to explain, Ruyan lashed out first. You pathetic loser, you don't even have a real job, she screamed. You sit around all day on that trash computer making $200. Aren't you ashamed of yourself? I'm the one carrying this whole family. Hearing that, her father's face turned bright red with rage. What kind of garbage is coming out of your mouth? Do you have no shame? Ruyan's father was a retired teacher, and for him, reputation was everything. But in that house, he never actually got to make the decisions. After all, he was just a son-in-law who had moved in with them. Even his daughter took her mother's family name. How much of a voice could he really have? Sure enough, before he could even finish his sentence, Ruyan's mother lunged at me, screaming, our family is done supporting a deadbeat like you. I paid for every bit of this renovation. Your trashy broke relatives could never have scraped this much together. I should have known better than to help you. Now pack your crap and get out. I let out a cold laugh and cut her off right there. Wow, that's quite a performance. My mother-in-law really is a piece of work. Don't you worry, I'm leaving. But I have one condition. I don't want the house and I don't want a single cent from the car. Just give me my son, Yuan. My mother-in-law didn't even hesitate to say no. You want my grandson? Not a chance. He's the one who's going to carry on our legacy. She was cold and direct. I'd been an orphan my whole life, so I had no one else. Ever since my son was born, the Liu family had basically taken over his life. This fits exactly what I expected from them. The Lius are obsessed with having a male heir to an extreme degree. There was no way they were going to give up that child without a fight. At this point, my only option is to get a lawyer and sue them. But deep down, I'm feeling pretty good about it. No matter how they fight it, I'm the one who's going to win this case. There is no way a court would grant custody to a cheating woman like you. Tomorrow, we're going to the city clerk's office, and after that, my lawyer will be in touch with all of you. After dropping those words, I grabbed a wooden club and held it firmly in front of me. The message was clear, get out. The crowd scrambled, tripping over themselves as they rushed to leave. Finally, the room cleared out, leaving only me, Ruyan, and her parents. Ruyan stood there, her face pale with anger, looking at me as if I were a total stranger. As for that guy she was seeing, he'd already snuck out during the chaos. She looked completely lost, now her voice trembling as she asked, Xiang Yang, are you actually serious about this? Come on, Yang, my father-in-law began, his voice soft, pleading. We're family, let's just talk this out behind closed doors. Why give those outsiders something to laugh at? He was trying his best to play the peacemaker. If this were the old me, I probably would have taken the bait just to keep things from getting worse. But everything is different now. Not a single person in this family actually gives a damn about me. Especially not this man, the trophy father-in-law who spends every day playing both sides. When I stayed silent, Ruyan's mother finally snapped, her voice rising in a screech. Xiang Yang! Fine. You want a divorce, you can have it, but you're signing an agreement first. The agreement must say that the car, the house, all the savings, and Yuan all belong to Ruyan. Hearing that, I lunged forward and grabbed the old woman by her collar. I roared at her. I am going to say this one last time, you can keep the car, the house, and every single cent of the money. But Yuan is my son and he's coming with me. Do you people understand me? Shangyang, let go of her, that's my mother, Ryan screamed, rushing forward to claw at me. I didn't even hesitate. I slapped her so hard she spun around and hit the floor. The old man couldn't stay quiet anymore. He stepped in saying, Yang, please, a real man uses his head, not his hands. We live in a society of laws. If you hurt someone, you'll end up in a jail cell. If you still respect me as a father, just let her go. I turned my head slowly toward him. My eyes were bloodshot as I looked at him. I'll call you Dad one last time. You know exactly how this family has treated me. I'm not asking for much. I just want my kid. Is that really too much to ask? Your family can't just take everything. And let's be real for a second. It'll be harder for your daughter to find a new husband with a kid dragged behind her. Why are you fighting me for him? Right then, the mother-in-law screeched at the top of her lungs. Listen to me, you loser. Yuan Yuan is never going with you. Stop living in your little dream world. Because Yuan Yuan isn't even yours if you don't believe me. Go get a DNA test. It felt like a bolt of lightning hit me. I spun around and ran toward Ruyan. I desperately needed to hear the truth from the woman I'd shared my life with for all these years. Ruyan, your mom is lying, right? Yuan Yuan is my son. Tell me he's mine. But all I got in response was a cold, heartless glare. He's not your son. Deep down, didn't you already know that? It's been so many years, Shangyang. Can you please stop being so pathetic and naive? With that, Ruyan marched into the study and spent a few minutes rummaging through the desk. She came back and threw a piece of paper in my face. See for yourself. When the was 18 months old, I already had a DNA test done for you. The results are right there. Take a good look. Wow, fine. So you're not even going to try and hide your dirty little secrets anymore, are you? It seemed that my years of patience and tolerance had given this woman a very wrong idea about exactly who she was messing with. But for some reason, hearing Lu Ruyan's cold confirmation made me feel different. Instead of being crushed, I felt this massive weight lift off my shoulders. I didn't even bother looking at the paternity test. It wasn't a lack of courage, it just felt completely pointless now. From here on out, I don't have to have any second thoughts about what I do next. This family has just lost their very last shield against me. Now I'm going to show them what true despair feels like. The next morning, Lu Ruyan surprisingly agreed to go and file for divorce with me without a fight. Of course, there's a 30-day cooling off period now, but I don't care. I can wait. By the time everything was wrapped up, it was already 8 p.m. since we were separated. I went back to the house and started digging up the hidden cameras I'd installed a while back. I'd been suspicious of her behavior for a long time. Catching her in the act earlier that day, that was just a scene in the play I'd already written. But life has a way of throwing curveballs. I honestly never imagined Yuan Yuan wasn't my own flesh and blood. For 29 days straight, I locked myself in my room. Covered in stubble, I spent every waking moment prepping for the next act. When day 30 finally rolled around, I calmly dialed Lu Ruyan's number. On the other end of the line, her voice sounded completely dead. She snapped, "Didn't I tell you never to contact me again?" I just replied in a flat tone, "I just sent you a video." As soon as I knew she'd seen the message, I hung up immediately. Lu Ruyan was in the middle of a class, but she impatiently tapped on the video anyway. The next second, her entire body started to tremble. It's a good thing she always keeps her phone on silent, or she would have committed social suicide right there in front of her students. The video was a clear shot of her and her lover getting intimate right in our home. And I'd captured it from every single angle, 360 degrees of pure betrayal. A chill ran down her spine as she struggled to keep her hysterical rage in check. She texted back, "Shangyang, what the hell do you want? Don't you realize what you're doing is illegal?" A cold smirk played on my lips as I typed back, "Come home tonight, we need to talk." You don't have to come, of course, the choice is entirely yours. I didn't wait for her response, I just shut off my phone. Since I had time to kill, I stopped by the store for some steak and a bottle of red wine. Tonight, I was gonna treat my dear wife to a lovely candlelight dinner. Just like the night I proposed. Before I knew it, it was 6 p.m. Lu Ruyan walked in, her face pale with fury. I just looked at her and smiled. "Go wash your hands, I'll pour the wine." She wasn't in the mood for games. "What is all this?" she spat. "Are you trying to win me back, or do you just want me to owe you a favor?" "I've had a long day. Stop wasting my time, okay?" I kept my voice steady. "Wash your hands. We'll talk after we eat." I spoke with a firm authority that left no room for argument. Frustrated, she turned and went into the bathroom. I walked straight to the table, pulled a small pill from my pocket and dropped it into her wine glass. Then I filled it with the wine I'd been letting breathe. All's fair in love and war right. Tonight, I'm going to start collecting some interest under the glow of the candles. Lu Ruyan looked at me with total contempt. "Fine, just name your price," she said. "Give me your terms. Sweetheart, look at us. What kind of person do you even see me as anymore? Why don't we start with a toast? Think of it as a farewell dinner." At that, Liu Ruyan held back her disgust and downed her red wine in one gulp. Don't even think about the mansion. And there's barely any savings left. If there's something else you're after, spit it out now. Don't waste my damn time. I really don't care about the money. What you should actually care about is Yun's real father. The second those words left my mouth, a glass shattered against the floor. Liu Ruyan lunged forward, her face twisted in a hideous snarl as she screamed, "Zhang Yang!" Shut your filthy mouth. You say one more word of that nonsense and I'll rip your tongue out. I burst out laughing right then and there. This was honestly the funniest thing I'd ever seen. Liu Ruyan, my dear wife, do you have any idea how pathetic and disgusting you look right now? The sheer humiliation turned her face a deep crimson, but very quickly. An intense wave of sleepiness washed over her, watching her start to nod off. I smiled, walked over slowly, and pulled her into my arms. She tried to fight the drowsiness, snarling, "Get your filthy hands off me! Get the hell out!" But her voice grew weaker and weaker, and within minutes she was out cold. I tossed her onto the bed, then pulled her phone from her pocket. I used Face ID to unlock it and opened her social apps. I was greeted by endless group chats from her classes and work. Liu Ruyan had an impressive resume, graduated from a top-tier Ivy League level university. Her dad's a college professor and her mom's a retired executive from a state-owned firm. And she didn't disappoint either. At only 28 years old, she was already a counselor at Huainan University. But none of that matters now. I took the video I'd sent her earlier and blasted it to every single person in her contacts. I excluded only 2 people. One was the meathead from the gym, and the other was her student Chu Nan, unsurprisingly. The group chats exploded instantly. By tomorrow morning, if not the whole country, then at least in all of Linhai City, Liu Ruyan is going to be a real celebrity. I looked up at my wife sleeping soundly on the bed, already imagining the look on her face when she wakes up tomorrow. Just then her phone buzzed. I picked it up and saw a message from her student, Chu Nan counselor. "Are you busy right now?" This little simp, the first time I saw him, I knew he was the poster child for desperate losers. A world-class doormat, and even now, he's still asking such pathetic, spineless questions. Looking at their chat history, it was so long I couldn't even scroll to the end. She really had him hooked. But I wasn't in the mood to deal with him. Instead, I opened the chat with her lover, Wang Tianyang. I bet he has no idea that he's about to become the most famous man in the city. So, I sent him a quick message, "You still up?" He replied in a heartbeat, "It's early, I'm still at the gym. Why, you miss me already, babe?" Seeing that the fish had taken the bait, I smiled and typed back, "Miss you my ass, I'm her husband. And we need to talk." He replied, "Baby, that's not a funny joke." That message was followed by a gross, nauseating emoji. It was clear as day, Wang Tianyang didn't believe for a second that Ruyan would still be with me. "You really think I'm the type to joke around? We'll have those divorce papers in our hands by tomorrow morning. Consider tonight our final night as a married couple. There's no need to be so impatient. After it's all yours." I noticed he wasn't replying, so I just went ahead and sent the photo I'd taken earlier. "Sorry about that. We might have taken things a little too far, but hey, it's already midnight. From this moment on, she's yours." On the other end, Wang Tianyang stared at the messages and photos I'd sent. It felt like 1,000 ants were crawling all over his skin. The sheer humiliation was suffocating him. Tonight was definitely going to be a long, sleepless night for him. Meanwhile, I drifted off into a deep, satisfying sleep. I'd gotten exactly what I wanted. Since I couldn't have it, I was gonna let it all burn. The next morning, Ruyan's first instinct when she woke up was to reach for her phone. Seeing that I just said nonchalantly, "You drank way too much last night. Your phone fell in some water and now it won't even turn on." Ruyan looked at me completely stunned. "What the hell happened last night and where's my phone?" "I know I put it in my pocket." I told her, "Just calm down for a second." "How am I supposed to be calm? I have absolutely no memory of anything you're talking about." "You're lying to me, aren't you?" Ruyan's gut was telling her something was seriously off, but she couldn't quite put her finger on it. "Are you really that sure you weren't wasted last night?" I asked. That vague, loaded question completely tripped her up. She remembered having 2 drinks and then everything getting all fuzzy and lightheaded. Everything after that was a total blackout. So when faced with my questioning, she didn't have a single word to say back. Seeing her so dazed, I kept going. "Are you stalling because you've changed your mind about the divorce?" "I don't have all day. I left your phone out on the balcony to dry. You can look at it all you want when we get back. Everything here is going to be yours anyway." Ruyan didn't say a word. She just grabbed her bag and stormed out the door. A few hours later, we were both holding those red divorce certificates. My marriage to Liu Ruyan was officially over. And right at that exact moment, a voice that sounded like a computer system rang out in my head. It said, "Congratulations to the host for successfully divorcing. You have received $3,600,000 as your life winner fund." I immediately pulled out my phone and opened my banking app to check. Sure enough, $3,600,000 had just been deposited into my account out of nowhere. Before I could even process it, I was suddenly surrounded by a mob of Ruyan's relatives. They looked like they were out for blood, but I honestly couldn't have cared less. Ruyan, on the other hand, was totally lost. She had no idea that she'd just become the most famous socialite in the entire city. "Mom, what's going on, Uncle? What are you guys doing?" My former mother-in-law, looking meaner than ever, stared at her daughter's confused face. She probably guessed I was behind this. Right then, Ruyan's cousin pulled her aside. She pulled out her phone and started showing Ruyan something whispering in her ear. In an instant, Ruyan's face turned a deep, angry shade of purple. She looked up at me with pure hatred and screamed, "Xiangyang!" I put on my most innocent, harmless expression. "Yeah, you need something." I flashed her a huge, bright smile, showing off every single one of my teeth. Liu Ruyan, blinded by rage, snapped coldly, "Xiangyang? Just you wait, I'm not done with you." "I'll see you in court," I roared at the crowd of Liu standing around us. "Attorney Zhang, you've been here the whole time, haven't you? Why don't you come out and say a few words for me?" As soon as I finished, a man in a sharp suit and glasses stepped forward. He said calmly, "I'm Zhang Yakun from Huacheng Law Firm. I am representing my client to handle the inheritance dispute between the Liu family and Xiangyang. We will be filing a lawsuit to proceed with the division of assets. Here is the power of attorney and the contract. You're welcome to take a look if you need to." Liu Ruyan looked at me with pure hatred. "Are you out of your mind? Are you so desperate for money that you've gone insane? What makes you think you're entitled to my property? You can see it right if it weren't for our family being soft-hearted because of our history. Who would even give him the time of day? You're a smart man. You can see what's going on here. Look at how he's dressed. He's dead broke. Getting involved with him will only drag you down." I cut her off immediately and asked with a straight face, "Are you finished?" "It's my turn now. Let's get straight to the point. I am officially appointing attorney Zhang Yakun to represent me in the case against Liu Ruyan, specifically regarding the concealment and transfer of joint marital assets. Do you understand now? My mother-in-law couldn't take it anymore. She screamed, "Shut your mouth. Do you think you can just bully the Liu family like we're nobody?" "Exactly, big sis, don't listen to his garbage. Just give us the word today." "Tell us which arm you want us to rip off," a middle-aged man started shouting. However, Liu Ruyan's mother looked pale and uneasy. Even Liu Ruyan herself had a dark expression and didn't say another word. The rest of the family soon noticed the tension and finally shut their mouths. After all, they only came here to look tough. If things actually got real, I bet every single one of them would be as quiet as a mouse. Now it was my turn to point at the whole lot of them. I said, "The rest of you need to get the hell out of here. Why are you even making a scene? Aren't you embarrassed enough already? You little brat." Clearly that middle-aged man felt like I was challenging him. "What about it? I'm talking to you. All you do is run your mouth all day. You're like a barking dog. Seriously, I've had enough of your crap." Suddenly, a middle-aged woman lunged forward, pointing her finger at my face and screaming insults. Then a loud smack echoed through the air. My slap left everyone in absolute shock. After slapping the old woman, I calmly rubbed my hand. She clutched her face, staring at me in disbelief as she hissed with rage, "You arrogant little brat," before she could finish. An even louder smack rang out sharper than the first one. "What are you whining about?" I asked. "I just did the math for you. Is $100,000 enough for one slap? For two, I'll give you $200,000. Or you could just call the police." I was acting completely lawless and arrogant. I felt like a totally different person. That deep, bone-deep confidence I felt didn't fit the image at all. It wasn't the kind of energy you'd expect from some broke guy who just lost his wife and kid. It definitely wasn't the vibe of a pathetic broke man who'd lost everything. So this is the power of money. You got any on you? 100,000 for one slap? Who do you think you're kidding? Stop playing. Pretend you're not that big of a deal. You're not walking away from the police station today after a few seconds of dead silence. That middle-aged man finally found his voice and roared at me. I mean, it was his wife who just got smacked. I just pulled out my phone with a look of pure disgust and said impatiently, "Open your app, I'll scan it and pay you right here, right now." You said it yourself. If you're just blowing smoke and can't back it up, then I'm not letting this go. Oh, you're not letting it go. You better just take the money and run. With a sharp beep, I sent the payment over. The notification rang out, received $200,000. Ruyan just stood there staring at me in total shock. Honestly, it wasn't just her. Everyone else there was completely stunned. 200,000 isn't pocket change they never expected. That someone would actually drop that kind of cash just to make a point. All right, now get lost. Clear out. Haven't you embarrassed yourselves enough for one day? Even after pocketing the 200,000, that man still looked like he was dreaming. All right, everyone, I want to thank our friends and family for coming out to support our Ruyan, but this isn't the place for a chat. I'll make sure to thank you all properly later. It's getting late, and I know you're all tired. My former father-in-law is a retired professor. He's always been obsessed with his reputation. He'd lost enough face today, and he just wanted this nightmare to end. Fine, we're heading out then. Call us if anything happens, and don't you let this kid take advantage of you. With that, the Liu family scattered like a swarm of bees, but Ruyan's mother, she hadn't said a single word the whole time. I knew exactly why she'd suddenly gone mute. That old gambling addict got exactly what she deserved. 3 years ago, I realized what my mother-in-law was really like. She played mahjong every single day. Gamblers don't stop until they've lost everything or their hands are tied. Otherwise, they'll never quit over the years. She didn't just blow her and the old man's entire retirement savings. She even used our names to borrow money everywhere to cover her gambling debts. A year ago, she even managed to get our house transferred into her name. I had a massive blowout with Ruyan back then, but it was a losing battle. I couldn't win against them. The house ended up legally belonging to that woman. If it weren't for that, I wouldn't have just walked away and given up all my assets so easily. Truth is, I've been waiting for this exact day. I'm going to ruin Ruyan's reputation. I'm not just going to break her spirit, I'm going to dismantle this entire family financially. I'm not about to let her cheat on me and get off scot-free. Ruyan, meanwhile, had already shifted back to that same old arrogant, untouchable attitude, Xiang Yang. I think we really need to talk in our entire relationship. She was always the proud white swan. No matter how low she fell, she'd never bow her noble head. I just looked at her and said coldly, "Talk about what? What is there left for us to say?" I seem to remember someone saying we should never contact each other again. Ruyan suddenly snapped. What is the deal with those videos? I haven't even started with you yet. Don't think you can get away with spreading lies. You've seriously violated my privacy. I just played dumb and acted like I'd lost my memory. What videos? What are you even talking about? I just stood there looking at her with a look that said I couldn't care less what she threatened me with. Liu Ruyan was gritting her teeth so hard they were about to shatter. You shameless piece of trash! I must have been blind to stay with someone like you for all these years. If I'd known you were such a lowlife, I'd have rather stayed single for the rest of my life. Liu Ruyan's words were dripping with so much pure malice that it actually made me laugh. Right, you definitely picked the wrong guy back then. But if you ask me, it wasn't just your eyes that failed you. It was your brain too. Look, we were husband and wife once. So let me give you some sincere advice. Don't go around saying things like that to other people. I'm worried they'll laugh their heads off. Seriously, your skin is thicker than a damn brick wall. You really are a shameless lunatic, Liu Ruyan wanted to keep screaming at me. But my former father-in-law stepped in and dragged her away. After getting Liu Ruyan and her daughter settled in the car, my father-in-law walked back over slowly and whispered, "Xiaoxia, you're not busy today, are you? Why don't you come by the house? I think it's better if we settle certain things face to face." I just looked at him and said flatly, "I think I'll pass. Uncle, there's nothing left for us to talk about. Let's just let the legal system handle everything. I don't have the energy for this back and forth anymore. You were a live-in son-in-law too. So I know you saw exactly what kind of hell I went through all those years. I'm done wasting my emotions on this." That one word, uncle, completely crushed my former father-in-law's hopes. He was a highly educated man. He understood the situation better than anyone. Persisting would just be a waste of breath. Fine, Xiaoxia. The Liu family has truly wronged you all these years. From now on, do whatever you want with your life. As of today, you are free. Without waiting for me to respond, the old man turned and walked away, his back hunched and heavy. The next day, I was jolted awake from a deep sleep by a phone call. It was a call from the police station. After listening, I smiled and told the officer, "Thank you. Officer, I wasn't even aware this happened yet." Then I headed straight for the upper floor. As soon as I arrived, I saw my former mother-in-law acting like a total shrew rolling around on the floor, making the female officer trying to help her look absolutely disgusted. It was hard to overstate just how repulsive this woman was. When my former father-in-law saw me, he rushed over with tears streaming down his face and grabbed my sleeve. "Xiaoxia, please talk some sense into Ruyan. She's the only daughter I have left." I just replied coldly, "Don't get worked up. Go sit over there and rest." Then I turned my head and barked at the woman on the floor. "Hey, you stop rolling around like that. My time is tight. If you have something to say, say it now." My former mother-in-law looked at my calm expression. her eyes filled with pure hatred. "You heartless monster, you've ruined our entire family!" I snapped back at her instantly. "What kind of crap are you spewing? What does any of this have to do with me? I'm only here to give your family a heads up. The court has just officially accepted my lawsuit. So get ready to cough up the house, the car, and every cent of the savings." I finished speaking and turned to leave without a second thought, realizing she had humiliated herself for absolutely nothing. The mother-in-law knew clinging to me was useless. She immediately grabbed the young policewoman's leg and started wailing, "Officer, you have to help me! Please, you have to help me. This heartless bastard is trying to kill her. My daughter's life is hanging by a thread." The policewoman, seeing no other choice, stopped me and said, "I called you here today because we need your help to save her. You should really talk to your ex-wife. Saving a life is the most important thing right now. Surely there's nothing that can't be settled with a calm conversation." It was clear the officer didn't have a clue about the real story behind all this. I sighed, feeling a bit helpless, and said, "All right, since you're asking, I'll give it a shot. But I can't promise it'll work. By the way, do you have a megaphone? The wind is really picking up. I'm afraid she won't be able to hear a word I say." Seeing me finally agree, the officer looked relieved. She immediately handed me a loudspeaker. No one noticed. But at that moment, a mocking smirk flashed across my face. As soon as I took the megaphone, my performance officially began. "Honey, please don't do anything reckless. Our son and I never blamed you for anything. Even though he's not my biological child, I've always raised him as if he were my own blood. Those surveillance videos were just leaked by someone with a grudge. I mean, think about it. Who in their right mind would install cameras all over their own house?" My former mother-in-law stared at me, her jaw dropping in shock. She never expected that even with her daughter threatening to jump, I'd still dare to say things that would provoke Liu Ruyan like this. She scrambled to her feet, screaming at the top of her lungs, "Don't listen to a word he says, he's lying through his teeth. This bastard, he wants our daughter to jump." Fortunately, the wind on the rooftop was too loud. Nobody could hear what she was screaming. Meanwhile, Liu Ruyan, who had been facing away from me, suddenly spun around. She glared at me, her beautiful eyes burning with pure hatred. The whole family had sat down today and come up with this entire scheme, thinking they could force Xiangyang to cave in, but they never imagined that this once pathetic submissive loser wouldn't fall for their trap at all. The situation had completely spiraled out of the Liu family's control. Things were getting more and more chaotic. They thought they could dismiss the videos as edited or deep fakes to brush the whole thing under the rug. But now Xiangyang had just blurted out the fact that the child wasn't even his. Liu Ruyan realized she had made a massive miscalculation. She never dreamed that I had no intention of compromising from the very start. My goal was clear. I wasn't just going to let her die, I was going to destroy her soul and her reputation forever. Even though I sounded heartbroken and desperate, shouting until I was out of breath, my face remained as cold as ice, even from several floors up. I could hear the massive uproar from the crowd of onlookers gathered below. So I struck while the iron was hot and cranked up the volume even more. "I don't care if the child is mine. I don't care how many other men you've been with. All I care about is having you back when you said you wanted a divorce. I begged you to stay. I went to every single elder in your family, hoping they would speak up for me, but not a single one would listen. Stop acting like the victim. All those years of love and they still weren't enough to beat a moment of cheap thrills. How freaking shameless. What an absolute disgrace." And she calls herself a teacher. They say true love means letting someone go. You told me you didn't love me anymore and that you wanted your freedom. So I chose to let you go. I left you the car and the house. I even let you have custody of the kid. People told me I was being a fool. But I know I wasn't being a fool at all. I just wanted you to have a better life after leaving me. But even after all that, you still let that deadbeat prick break your heart. Ruyan, I'm begging you. Think about our child. Please don't do anything reckless. Okay, I'm begging you. With that, I put down the megaphone. I looked triumphantly at Liu Ruyan, who was standing there frozen. And right then, the crowd below erupted into a frenzy of gossip. "You bastard! You total piece of trash!" My former mother-in-law started screaming her lungs out at me. She looked like she wanted to skin me alive right then and there, but in the end they lost. Their desperate little scheme was completely ruined by my little performance. And in just those few short minutes, I had managed to smear her name 3 more times. I made Ruyan out to be a greedy monster. I made it sound like she cheated, took every penny I had, and that the kid I'd raised for years was actually some other guy's brat. Then for the finishing touch, I said she was jumping because some loser dumped her. At that moment, a thunderous roar broke out from the crowd below. Ruyan's face went deathly pale when she heard it. Her entire body started to sway, and right as that happened, I was only a few steps away from her. "Liu Ruyan, She looked at the man she used to share a bed with, and her heart filled with bitterness. There wasn't a hint of emotion in my eyes, only cold, hard indifference. Pure icy hatred was all I had left for her. Suddenly, a gust of wind blew past. Her tiny 90-pound frame wavered precariously in the wind. Then her legs just gave out, and right before everyone's eyes, she fell off the edge of the roof. Oh my God, she jumped. The crowd below gasped in horror. I stared at the empty space on the ledge. I was stunned for a split second, but I snapped out of it quickly. As long as that bitch was alive, she was a stain on my life. The police on the roof rushed forward. The young female officer turned back toward me, grabbing me in a rage. "Don't you move, we almost had her calm down." "Then you showed up and she lost it again, do you even hear yourself?" I looked at the officer in total disbelief. What the hell does that have to do with me? She jumped on her own, it's not like I pushed her off. The officer's eyes went wide. "You are absolutely heartless. I'm telling you, if your wife dies today, you're going to pay for this." "That woman has nothing to do with me. We got our divorce papers finalized just this morning. I haven't even had time to put them away yet. Now move. I've got things to do." While we were arguing, the ambulance had already sped away. The building was only 5 stories high, actually more like 4.5. So it wasn't a huge drop, and they had the safety cushion set up below. I figured there was an 80% chance she'd survive. My ex-mother-in-law, meanwhile, was just standing there catatonic. I was slumped on the pavement staring blankly at the sky with 2 police officers standing over me. My former father-in-law had already left for the hospital in the ambulance. I knew right then. This whole farce was only just beginning. The news of Liu Ruyan's affair. It was probably going to peak tonight. I couldn't wait to see how she'd try to keep her job after this. Liu Ruyan might be shameless enough to pull these stunts, but a prestigious place like Southeast University wouldn't stand for it. They'd probably just put out a notice saying she was a temporary worker, cutting all ties to keep their hands clean. If you're going to garden, you have to pull them out by the roots, or they'll just grow back stronger. Even a kid knows that, and I certainly wasn't about to forget it. As for Liu Ruyan, she was in bad shape after falling 4.5 stories onto that fire rescue cushion. Her life wasn't in danger, but a broken leg was pretty much unavoidable. I guess you could say she cheated death, but she couldn't escape the misery. What was really destroying her, though, was the mental trauma. She had absolutely no idea how to fix the mess she was in. Like the school officials already lurking outside her hospital room. In that moment when she was falling, so many things flashed through her mind. Her entire 20-something years of life played back in a few short seconds. Like a flickering movie reel, she'd grown up with everything a silver spoon in her mouth. Her father was a university professor, her mother was an executive at a state-owned firm, and her older sister was the family's golden child. If that man had never shown up, Liu Ruyan's life would never have spiraled into this pathetic disaster. When she thought of me, she actually felt like I was a victim. Just a poor guy she'd dragged down with her, but it was too late for regrets now. The man she'd seen as a pushover for all those years had finally decided to cut her out of his life for good. "Professor Liu, I know it seems heartless to bring this up right now, but I hope you can understand the school's position. This whole situation has caused a massive scandal. I'm sure you wouldn't want the reputation of Southeast University to go down the drain because of this." Director Wang spoke with a heavy sigh as he closed the door to her room. Liu Ruyan wasn't stupid. She knew exactly why Director Wang had come to see her today. "I understand your concerns, Director Wang. Shame upon the university. I'm willing to accept whatever disciplinary action the board decides on." Seeing her be so reasonable, Director Wang actually looked a bit taken back. This didn't match. The Liu Ruyan he thought he knew it all. "Ruyan, back when you first joined us, you were so promising. How could you be so foolish?" "Well, there's no point in lecturing you now. I just hope you'll cooperate with the school's arrangements. I've got things to handle back on campus, so I'll be going now. Get some rest and heal up." "Thank you for coming, Director Wang. Take care." Once the hospital room was empty and quiet, Liu Ruyan finally felt the bitter sting of how fast people turn their backs on you. Meanwhile, having finally escaped the crowd of nosy students, I stood on the street corner and lit a cigarette, trying to wrap my head around everything. The more I thought about it, the more I realized I couldn't act too heartless. It would totally ruin my persona as the devoted, heartbroken husband. So I picked up the phone and called my former father-in-law. "Uncle Wei, are you busy?" "What do you want?" The old man's tone over the phone was noticeably colder than usual, but that made sense. Nobody's going to be friendly to the man who basically pushed their daughter off a ledge. Honestly, he was being remarkably restrained. "Uncle Ruyan fell. Is she hurt badly?" "Which hospital is she in? I want to come see her. After all, we're still husband and wife." After a few seconds of silence on the other end, the old man's voice came through low and heavy. Ruyan is going to be fine. She just broke her leg. She is at Linhai City First People's Hospital. A broken leg, huh? Then I definitely need to pay her a visit. Which ward is she in? Inpatient department, 8th floor, room 8012. Got it, thanks for your help. I am on my way. I cannot believe bitch only broke one leg. I bet within an hour, Lu Ruyan's hospital room will be packed to the rafters. A twisted smile crept across my face. Once I got to the hospital, I headed straight for Ruyan's ward, just as I thought. When I arrived, the nurses had already shut the door tight. There was a massive crowd outside, many of them hauling professional cameras. Others were filming on their phones. In this social media age. Everyone thinks they are a streamer. Ruyan is definitely famous now, but honestly, that works in my favor. My next move is to ride the wave of her shitty reputation. The worse she looks, the more I stand to gain. Excuse me coming through. My voice was instantly swallowed by the roar of the crowd. I had to shout even louder. Everyone please move. I am Lu Ruyan's ex-husband. I'm here to see her. Boom. Every single person in that 8th floor hallway turned to stare at me, even nurses at the station. Is the ex-husband war god making his big return? Hey guys, in the chat, the show is about to start. The pure love warrior actually showed up. Can you believe this, guys? Give me a break. Hearing those colorful shouts, I felt like my head was about to explode. What is this garbage? Suddenly the crowd swarmed me like a pack of wolves. Thank God the hospital security showed up to keep some kind of order. After a brutal struggle, I finally managed to squeeze into Ruyan's room. The second I opened the door, I froze. Ruyan was staring at me, her face twisted in pain. And then she peed, like she actually wet herself. The moment I pushed that door open, she was so terrified, so paralyzed with fear that the sudden shock made her lose control of her bladder. A stream of yellowish liquid soaked right through her pants. Her clean hospital gown was stained instantly, and then sound. A scream that could rival Jesse Norman, the world's greatest soprano. Ruyan's legs gave out and she collapsed onto the floor. When someone is in total shock and terror, their body can just shut down. It is not necessarily a medical condition. It is just the brain's self-protection mechanism kicking in. It was obvious what happened. A total neat freak like her exposed in such a disgusting way right in front of the cameras. No wonder she blacked out. Click, 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 the crowd outside swarmed the door like flies on a carcass, snapping photos like crazy. Even I felt like crossing myself for the miserable disaster that was her life. All I could think was, amen, she is absolutely finished. But after my moment of secret joy, I had to play the part, as soon as she hit the floor. I rushed over to scoop her up. As for why I did not jump in sooner, to shield her. The official answer is I was just stunned. My brain did not process it in time, but the unofficial answer is much simpler. I just wanted everyone to see her in that pathetic, humiliating state. I wish more people would have taken pictures to remember this. I could barely keep the smirk off my face right then. My face was stuck in this incredibly weird, twisted state. I wanted to laugh so bad but didn't dare, so I had to force myself to look worried. It was pure torture, just as I was hitting my stride with the acting. A security guard showed up at the worst possible time. He didn't just kick everyone out. He shut the door behind them. Once I was sure everyone in the hallway was gone, I tossed Lu Ruyan onto the floor with total disgust. Then I looked down at her with a cold, dead expression and said, "All right, stop faking it, damn it. Everyone's gone. Isn't the floor cold? Shangyang, do you really want me dead that badly? Heh, you caught me. Since you asked, I'll hunt. Yeah, I want to watch you die." I think about it every single second. Thinking it is one thing, but hearing it out loud is a whole different feeling. Even though Ruyan knew I hated her, she never imagined I'd reach this level of loathing. While we were talking, my former father-in-law and a nurse walked in. I immediately switched back to a look of pure heartbreak, ignoring Ruyan's protests. I forced her back onto the bed. Ruyan fought me like crazy the whole time. But it didn't do a damn thing. "Get away from me. If you touch me again, I'll kill myself." "Oh, Ruyan, your leg is broken. Why are you being so stubborn? The doctor said you shouldn't move." The old man's lips twitched slightly, but he didn't say a word. Ruyan just lay there, her face turning bright red with rage. "Here, have some fruit." "I know you guys don't want to see me. I'll leave now." I walked out of the room and went straight home. After a long day, I shirted and crashed. The next morning at 5 o'clock, I couldn't sleep. I decided to drive over to my son's kindergarten and just wait for this kid who isn't even biologically mine. People aren't made of stone, even though this child, since the day he was born, was basically claimed by my ex-mother-in-law, I'd still been his father for years. I didn't have any hatred for the kid. It was his shameless mother who was at fault. There was a breakfast stall near the school, so I grabbed a quick bite. I finished early, so I wandered around aimlessly for about half an hour. I kept hesitating. The kid might not be mine, but I was the one he called Daddy for the very first time. Am I being a total monster by doing this? Smack, smack, realizing my head was in the wrong place, I gave myself 2 hard slaps across the face. You pathetic idiot, you're a total chump. And even the son you're worried about belongs to someone else. In this situation, I'm being merciful just by not taking a blade to Ruyan's entire family. And here I am actually feeling a spark of sympathy. If that's not pathetic, I don't know what is, shaking off that useless pity. My gaze turned cold and steady. I pulled out my phone and called Yang Hai, the guy who does those internet live streams. Hey, you up yet? Mr. Shang, what's going on this early in the morning? Yang Hai was still in bed. He squinted at the clock through his grogginess and saw it wasn't even 7 o'clock yet. Even though he was probably cursing me out in his head, his voice stayed polite. He didn't really have a choice. Well, when the person waking you up is basically your meal ticket, you don't complain, you just move. Send 2 of your no-name streamers over to Starsea Preschool immediately. It's a pretty high-end place. And by high-end, I mostly mean it's ridiculously overpriced. Just put it in your GPS and get here. Can you get someone here within an hour? I'm in a serious rush. School starts at 8, and if we miss that window, the whole show is ruined. I can find people for you, but what on earth are you planning this early in the morning? You'll see when they get here. It's too much to explain right now. All right, Mr. Xiang, give me 30 minutes. They'll be there guaranteed. Yang Hai talked a big game, but the 2 people he actually sent really made him look like a fool. I stood there chain-smoking and pacing for 50 minutes, before I finally spotted 2 suspicious-looking characters through the swarm of parents dropping off their kids. One had hair dyed a hideous neon green, and the other was caked in so much makeup she looked like a clown. They stood out in that crowd like a couple of neon signs. I could barely stand to look at these 2 freaks. Yang Hai had already sent me their info, and I'd texted them the whole rundown of what they needed to do next. Now it was just a matter of waiting for Liu Ruyan's mother to show up with the kid. It was almost 8. After what felt like forever, I finally saw her, the old lady clutching Yuan Yuan's hand, shuffling slowly toward the gate. A 4-year-old is the definition of pure innocence. As soon as he saw me from a distance, Yuan Yuan yanked his hand away from his grandma and came flying into my arms. Daddy, Yuan Yuan missed you. Hey there, buddy. Daddy missed you too. Come here, let me give you a big hug. This kid had been my world since the day he was born. To say I wasn't hurting inside would be a lie. Looking at his sweet, happy face, I felt a lump in my throat as I lifted him high over my head. That moment of raw emotion was caught perfectly by those 2 weirdos hiding in the crowd, who were already broadcasting everything live. At 8 in the morning, there weren't many viewers. But you can't stop the internet's thirst for drama. Word spread like wildfire from 1 person to 100, then 1,000. Before long, both streams had over 1,000 people watching simultaneously. They didn't even have to pay for promotion. People were just flooding in. University professor cheats with personal trainer. That title alone is clickbait gold. Not to mention the even juicier drama that followed. The suicide threats, the revelation that the kid isn't even the husband's. It was pure eye candy for the masses. Having a live stream dedicated to following this mess in real time was exactly what the public wanted. The comment section was a total war zone with both sides going at it, pushing the stream into the top 10 trending topics in the city. A user named Coo commented, "Raising a kid that isn't yours is pointless. You'll end up broke and alone eating dirt." Ordinary Life chimed in, "I agree, there's a guy in my neighborhood who did that. He's miserable now." But Little Princess argued, "You guys are heartless. Think about the poor child losing his father. Besides, even if they aren't blood related, aren't they still family?" Drink Hot Water snapped back, "If you aren't blood related, you aren't family, period. And how exactly is he losing a father? The biological one just hasn't crawled out of the woodwork yet." One user, Princess Girl, commented, "The people above are talking total nonsense. The kid is so little, isn't it heartbreaking for him to lose his dad? And besides, even if they aren't blood related, does that mean they're not family?" Another user, Stay Hydrated, shot back, "Actually, without a blood bond, they really aren't family. And how is he fatherless anyway? His biological dad just hasn't shown up yet, right? I bet you're just like that female teacher looking for some sucker to step up and take over, aren't you?" User Little Princess says even a basic delusional guy wouldn't take a chance on you. The second those comments dropped, the live stream turned into a total circus of people arguing. The gender war online is already intense, and with trolls stirring the pot. The 2 sides started going at it, which basically sent the stream's traffic through the roof. Meanwhile, I was fully in character, holding Yuan Yuan with tears streaming down my face. In the sea of parents dropping off their kids, people started noticing me standing out in the crowd. Wait, isn't that the pure love warrior? Is his kid actually at our kindergarten? A flashy-looking mom started whispering some hot gossip to her friend nearby. "I think that's his kid." Seems like they're in the same class as mine. Wow, poor kid. Kindergartens these days are really big on that family involvement stuff. So parents are always at the school taking part in all these little activities. After a while, you pretty much recognize everyone in your kid's class. The kid's name is Yuan Yuan. Over here, I was putting on quite the performance. My ex-mother-in-law who'd been holding him realized he'd run off and spotted me immediately. But the old lady didn't do anything to stop us from seeing each other. She used to work at a state-owned company. She was some kind of mid-level manager back then. She's still got some brains left, to be honest, looking at me now. Deep down, she's actually terrified. The thought of the lawyer I hired makes her really uneasy. With all that debt, if that little brat takes half the house and the car, her life would be over, so now her only hope is her precious grandson. She's hoping I still have some fatherly love left and won't drive her into a corner. Even though I was playing with the kid, I kept a sharp eye on my ex-mother-in-law. The bag was just lurking there, showing no sign of coming over to fight or grab the kid. I could see her little scheme from a mile away. If she won't come to me, I'll go to her. What's that saying again? If the mountain won't come to Muhammad, then Muhammad must go to the mountain. So holding the kid's hand, I walked straight toward that old hag. I had a plan. I couldn't mention that I wanted to take the kid with me. Otherwise, she'd jump at the chance to dump the kid on me and run. I walked up to her and struck first. You old hag. I'm telling you one last time, don't you dare use this child to threaten me. I'm not giving you $200,000. I wouldn't even give you $2. That did the trick. The crowd immediately started closing in to hear the drama. I looked at my stunned ex-mother-in-law, a tiny smirk tugging at the corner of my mouth. If there's no drama, I'll manufacture it. Nobody knows the truth anyway. What'd you say, you little brat? What 200,000? Keep acting. Just keep it up. Who was the shameless person who called me yesterday and said if I wanted the kid, I had to pay $200,000 up front? You old hag, you need to find some god. The child is so young, and you're using him as a bargaining chip. Who would ever trust someone like you with a child? After that verbal beatdown, the surrounding parents started pointing and whispering. My ex-mother-in-law's face turned bright red with rage. She pointed at me, but she couldn't squeeze out a single word. Getting called out in public like that, she must have wanted the ground to swallow her whole. I gave a cold laugh and took Yuan Yuan's hand. This is just the opening act of the show. The old bat was stunned, but it didn't take long for her to snap out of it. I was dragging her name through the mud, and by the time she realized it, it was already too late. There's an old saying, first to strike wins and the last to act loses. People are driven by first impressions, and my former mother-in-law was about to lose her damn mind. My ability to spin a web of lies left her absolutely no room to defend herself. Besides, who's going to believe her? Her daughter was the one who cheated first. I'd already seized the moral high ground. I had the perfect justification for this attack. When did I ever ask you for $200,000? Everyone don't believe a word this little brat says. She screamed that I was full of lies, but at this point she could talk until she was blue in the face. The crowd's expressions didn't budge at all. First impressions really are that powerful. Seeing everything play out exactly as I'd planned, I decided to twist the knife and continued with a cold sneer. Haha, Mooquillin, let me lay it out for you right now. I'm getting my kid back one way or another. The money, the car, and the house, I'm going to take every bit of it back through the courts. I'm telling you, that little scheme you and your daughter have for hiding assets, it's completely useless. Stop your delusional dreaming. I'm warning you for the very last time. Yuan is never being raised by a gambling addict. Think about all those debts you racked up out there. You know exactly how much of your mess I cleaned up before the divorce. Do the math. Don't even think about coming back to threaten me now. My former mother-in-law was left completely speechless. She opened her mouth weakly, desperately trying to claw back an argument. But in the end, she couldn't squeeze out a single syllable.